Oh, hey guys, by the way, before we get started, I had some requests from some new subscribers for me to talk a little bit slower, so I'm gonna try it this time. I don't know if I can keep it up on every video, but it's gonna be one of those where I'm gonna just kind of go slow for every chart that we're gonna show you here, guys. But another thing I wanted to bring to your attention is 2 weeks ago, we have posted a video on this channel titled Real Crash in Fake Meat, where the observations were made between the stocks of TLRY and BYND, and we used the TLRY analysis to predict this crash from 235 bucks at the time we recorded and posted the video. We said the stock was going to go down to 145 bucks. Actually, officially yesterday, it traded at 140 bucks. So, and in this video is to show you the next stock that is heading substantially lower. Using the same analysis from the charts, some observations that we're seeing, some seasonalities that could help you nail this next trade if you missed out on the real crash in the fake meat. And by the way, if you did, there should be a link somewhere on this video where you can check it out and you can check out the analysis before we actually suggested that trade. So here it is, guys. Another one. Hey guys, what's going on? In this video, we're gonna actually talk about something very exciting and very interesting. How can you actually profit from the upcoming hurricane season? So the question is, look, we all know we're about to get some hurricanes, okay? In August and September, it happens each and every year. But how can you actually take advantage of such a situation and trade options? So we're gonna dive in and look at a few charts. The most recent case that we have observed recently is the reaction of PCG Electric into all the fires that were taking place in California. And you know what happened to the stock. There was a rumor of the bankruptcy. The stock drops from 47 bucks all the way to 7. Surprisingly, if you would have studied the history of PCG Electric, you would have known that very similar circumstance actually occurred roughly about 10-12 years ago because this recent incident. So, and the stock actually dipped to the same level of 7 bucks. Now, two key things to understand is not only how to trade the initial drop in one stock that I'm going to share with you today that is about to drop, in my calculation, anywhere from 30 to 40% over the course of the next 45 days. Now, but also it is important to understand of how you will trade this stock after the initial drop happens, because here you will actually have a chance to tap into the holy grail of trading, what I call the round trip trade. Yes, that's right. So without any further ado, let's dive in and take a look at a couple of charts right here, guys. Here's what we've got going on. First chart we're gonna look at is PCG Electric on a weekly. So here's the time frame I was referencing just a second ago. Look at the stock is trading at $47. Look what happens next. Okay, all the wildfires, all the claims are hitting the company. Look, drops all the way to initially 15 bucks. Okay, after that, it jumps up, goes a little bit sideways, takes another major hit, and this time it falls from 25 bucks all the way to $7. Okay, now this chart is good for examining the situation that could actually happen to this next stock that I'm about to reveal to you. Now, before I'm going to reveal to you this next stock, you should know that it is not our typical high beta, high flyer name. In other words, it doesn't move 20, 30 bucks a day like Amazon. It doesn't move 20, 30, 40, $50 like BKNG. So if you are considering taking this trade, you have to be prepared to be extra patient, because this stock does not trade actually weekly options. It does trade only monthly. So make sure that if you get into this trade that you got the patience to stick with this trade through the duration of the time when we're targeting this move to actually take place. So the stock that we're going to talk about today is UVE, ticker UVE, guys, and it's Universal Insurance Holdings. Now, for those of you who may not be familiar with Universal Insurance Holdings, what they do is they sell homeowners insurance predominantly in Florida market. Now, there's nothing wrong on the surface here. However, if you investigate the company just a little bit further, you're going to find out some very interesting things, such as this company went from $1 to $40, while the CEO of the company was arrested about 6 times. Huh, very interesting. The company's been able to show some very interesting high rising earnings that actually growth-wise outpaced stocks like Netflix. Whoa. The first claim when the hurricane did come in, one of these times in the last 6 years in Florida, guess which claim the company settled first? That's right, the CEO's claims, because his house, pretty big one in Florida, okay, got hit by the hurricane, and that was the first claim that was settled by the company. Surprise, surprise. So you guys may be thinking, okay, so maybe not as clean with the company here as may appear, okay? And the major threat here is the fact that this company here, guys, is so undercapitalized. So if indeed the state of Florida got hit with a severe storm, this company literally would not have enough money to pay for all the outstanding claims. And considering the fact that, yeah, the CEO will fix his house first, okay, and all the management's probably going to fix their houses first, I mean, there's probably not going to be much money left for the regular poor Joe out there, you know, with like a $100,000 to $200,000 home out there. But that's just what we think could actually happen and could take the company completely bankrupt, okay? So, you know, in terms of the bankruptcy, this stock could literally go back to where it used to trade 12 years ago, which was $1, $2, okay? So without any further ado, I want to now focus on the chart of Universal Insurance and show you why this particular timing of August and September is such a dangerous time for the company. Something major was to happen, they simply are not going to be able to pay these claims and they will go bankrupt, okay? Now, you may be responding to that, okay, but they're going to get bailed out, just like PCG. They're not going to let them go bankrupt. Now, this is not a public utility company. This is a homeowner insurance company. And for some of you that may be familiar with Universal Health, you may be thinking, okay, well, hold on a second, Leonardo, didn't they just start to diversify in states like North Carolina and Virginia? Yes, that's correct. They seem to be writing policies in those couple of new states as well, but the amount of business that they're doing there is not very significant. And also, I mean, if you're really trying to diversify out of Florida, why would you on earth would you pick some other states that get hit by hurricanes all the time as well, like North Carolina? Okay, so this strategy does not make a whole lot of sense, but look, it has worked for them for years. Nothing crazy has happened besides some really great trading opportunities on the chart. So let's focus right here, guys. As you can see, A represents August, S represents September on this daily chart. Actually, we're looking at the weekly chart of UVE, and you can see that this major dip, right, from 22 all the way to $15 here happens in early September, which coincides with what? With a major hurricane announcement, which was coming to the state of Florida at the time. Now, notice how fast this drop is. Literally, the stock price gets slashed by 40% within 2 days. Okay, so why is that important? How fast the stock is actually crashing? Well, it's important from the standpoint of option valuations, right? So you want to target these opportunities, can allow you to make 300-400%. So this is the trade that we're actually taking a couple of years ago. I remember some of these 50-cent puts were worth literally within 3 days, within a 72-hour time frame, they were worth $4.50, guys. That's a 900% return, okay? So as you can see, last year we did not get a ton of bad hurricane news, so the stock didn't really dip in September, but it did drop. It had a pretty nice drop here around October. Okay, now overall, if you were to look further back in the history, okay, this August-September drop in the stock pretty much works like clockwork. It's not 100%, but it's got about 80% probability. If you look for the history of the last 10 years on UVE, this August, September drop is almost like a seasonal drop for this stock. So this is why the timing of this trade would make sense to actually buy options that expire, the September expiration options, guys. Okay. Now, overall, if we look at this chart, and guys, this is a pretty easy chart pattern right here, guys, and it is a very good and solid pattern predicting further drops in things. And specifically, if you are not familiar with Head and Shoulders, I highlighted the orange parts of the shoulder right here, the part of the head formation of this pattern, and the other shoulder. Generally speaking, after you have this bearish pattern develop, you could expect drops all the way right here, which coincides. UVE has established a strong support level around $15-17 per share. So in this case, currently, at the time I'm recording this video, the stock trades at about 28 bucks. $28, we believe, could turn into 17.5. So literally 30-40% drop could be coming in, guys, by September sometime in this thing. Now, it could happen in August, right? Because we don't know when a hurricane announcement could come in. That could be a hurricane coming close to Florida. So if that does take place, even with the announcement and the expectation of the hurricane, expect the stock, as you can see here on the chart, to do this. So you're going to have huge move lower in the stock. Now, the second part I was going to tell you, I was going to reveal how to actually trade the news after the hurricane actually happens. And so if you can see what happens next, the stock makes typically this huge bullish reversal candle formation. So as you can see, this drop happens again over the course of 2-3 days, and right after that, the stock starts flying. So I've seen these reversals for multiple years in UVE, and so no matter how bad this storm announcement actually is, you want to stay short all the way to the point where the storm actually hits. And as soon as the storm hits, you want to start buying calls. Now, that strategy has worked like crazy. Now, what most of the traders are going to do, they're actually going to, oh, the storm is coming. Let's wait and see how bad the damages are, okay? And while they're doing that and they're still buying puts on the stock, institutional investors are timing that dip, and they're actually coming in and they're buying the dip. So don't, just look at how the stock could be possibly dropping on some major storm news that could be hitting Florida. Just go ahead and get into the trade earlier in the expectation of that move. Okay, it's very easy to do it because, again, this one doesn't have weekly option, only trades monthly options. And what you will find out, as soon as that major drop comes, let's say to 17 bucks, 17.5, you want to reverse that trade and you want to start buying calls, because the history tells us, look at this chart, as soon as this flush out happens, it starts moving higher, continuously higher. And I know it doesn't make a whole lot of sense because you will be, listening to the news, oh my God, it's the biggest storm ever. You're going to look at this stock, UVE, it keeps crashing. And so you're going to be very tempted to buy puts at that moment, but be very careful because that's actually going to be the worst possible time to buy it, because what institutions do is they sell the shares of UVE in the expectation of the hurricane season, in the expectation of something bad that actually takes place. Once the news is out, the stock actually starts moving higher with about 80% accuracy, guys. So with that said, let's actually take a look further at more of a recent chart. So let's say there's going to be no hurricane. Well, if there's no hurricane, the stock still has a chance to drop. And here's why. If you study this, oftentimes in a lot of our videos, we reference the term short the bounce. And so I just discovered that we have a lot more traders that are familiar with the term buy the dip than short the bounce, especially the new guys. Okay, so if you are new, okay, I'm going to show you on this chart what literally shorting the bounce means. So anytime, and there's a couple of conditions for that. As you see on this chart, you have this orange line, okay, that's going lower. You have the blue line under the orange line, which tells you that the 50-day moving average, the average of the price in the stock in the last 50 days, is below the level of the average stock price over the last 200 days. So that's by itself is bearish, okay? So make sure when you're looking at the chart, you got the blue line under the orange line. The second thing you will discover here is look at these candles, right? So every time the stock drops, it begins to move sideways, then it pops again, and right around that area of the blue line, what a coincidence. Look, it works like magic, guys. So it gets up to that blue line, and what happens next? It drops like a rock again. Then it works its way higher again, hits the blue line. Look what happens again. It drops like a rock. Then it moves higher again. The blue line goes slightly above it, stays there, and then drops again. So we're right now in a situation where it's just above the blue line, nicely positioned to make that pullback. So when you combine the daily chart, when you lay it over the weekly chart, so over here you got on the daily very strong pattern where you can come in, and every time the stock bounces, it gives you a great opportunity to come in and short the bounce, meaning buy puts as the stock is going higher and collecting profits when it drops. So on the weekly chart, you have a very nice head and shoulder pattern, which is highly bearish. On top of that, you have the timing of the trade here going back. If you look at this chart, you will see there's 80% probability that the stock will drop in August and September, right around that area. So now you know everything. You know roughly the size of the move. The size of the move meaning we're not saying the stock is going to go bankrupt. We're not saying it's going to go back to $1, although there is a possibility of that if something crazy indeed will happen. Certainly, we want you to be aware how this stock responds to circumstances like this during the storm hurricane season. So I hope this video was helpful to you guys. Trade like a rock star. If you're new to charts, click the link below. Check out our charts, divergences, and pattern recognition course that could help you make this year your best trading year ever. I'll catch you in the next trade in the next video. Trading wins and losses is just like everything else in life that is worth fighting for. You remember your marriage? Man, it was beautiful when you were getting married, but you had no idea how ugly the losses of this divorce were actually going to be. Like opening a business, thinking you'd get rich overnight. But in the midst of it, you ended up maxing all of your credit cards just to sustain that business for a few years before you even realize a tiny bit of your first profits. Like buying a house, thinking it would go up in value forever and ever, just realizing how wrong you actually were when 2008 hit. Like having kids, it was such a great idea at first. Remember how excited you were, terrified and scared at the same time, how much joy you actually had. Until your kids turned 2. Man, the terrible 2s. You thought that was bad until they turned 13, 14, 15. Shit. But you wouldn't change it for anything. You love your kids, no matter what your emotional losses or wins are with them, no matter what your financial losses or wins are. It really doesn't matter, does it? You don't quit on your kids, no matter how tough things actually get. For some of us, it's the same thing with trading. Just think, how long are your kids going to be your kids? The answer is forever. How long do you see yourself trading the markets? If your answer is forever, then you owe it to yourself and your kids to invest in the 13 market moves formula, so that your life journey of trading would be most rewarding and joyful, both financially and emotionally. Live to trade,
trade to live. Conquer the world one trade at a time, fearlessly using the 13 market moves formula today.